Hello. Today I would like to narrate a story. I was going to write it, but I decided I didn't want to. Because in writing, it feels very slow, despite the fact that I can speak quite quickly and type quite quickly. I prefer to speak because in typing I'd like it to be perfect, and this story isn't perfect. In fact, I don't typically write fiction. I've written fiction 3 times. One time as a demonstration of an ideal scenario, one time to explore different writing styles, and one time for something else I forgot. I have written before fiction many times, although most of it is unfinished. Only a couple I have finished, and I don't like them very much, because fiction, I don't like it. My personal opinion is that there are some reasons it could be good, like if it teaches a story, if it explores an interesting hypothetical. There's not much else really, because mainly the reason people like fiction is because they'll intentionally immerse themselves in the fictional world, caring about the characters that don't exist. And to me, fiction is just an elaborate lie. All you're doing is stating things that are incorrect. But if you choose to let yourself be immersed, then you enjoy that. And many people do that, and that's alright. That's alright, no problem with that. I personally don't do that because I find joy in other things like education, which sounds like a pretentious thing, but it is a more logical option. Rather than being invested in things that don't exist, just lies, you can learn something and begin, beneficial from your enjoyment. And also, one fun thing about fiction is, or real life rather, stories in general, is that you can predict them. You can try and predict where it's going to go, which is why murder mysteries are so fun. But the thing is, in real life it's more interesting because you can actually guess, based on this and this and this, what might happen. But in a story, it's not based on this and this and this what will happen. It's based on this and this and this, what does the author choose to happen? And in that point, it's basically useless. So I don't like fiction very much. But I would like to narrate a story. It is going to be improvised right now. It may not be amazing. It is very late because my sister decided to keep me up by making a ton of noise very late for a long time because she's annoying and I won't get into it. I posted a video just before this one which you can watch to learn about why. But basically I'm awake and instead of trying to wait for her to be quiet, because she is actually still making some noise to this point for the past about 3.5 hours. Is that what it is? No. Let's see, so about 9:30 is when I went to bed. 10:30, 11. Okay, so about 3 hours. No, because it's 12. Yeah, 3.5 hours. Okay. So instead of trying to sleep through that and only having pain, I decided to do things. I've already written a little bit, so now I'm just doing this. And the story will be basically similar to what I mentioned the first time I wrote, an ideal scenario. It would be me just saying, wouldn't this be nice? It'll be a combination of my fantasies I've had and just thoughts, and I don't know how I would narrate it. I suppose I shall tell it in a format of past tense, treating it like something that has happened. Well, I believe I have said plenty, given the goal is to say a story, and I have said much more than just a story. So now I'll begin. As a typical day, I went to rock climbing gym, Escalade, to enjoy a climb, many climbs actually. They set up a new wall, and it was very fun. I always want to meet someone there, but after going there for 2.5 years, I have yet to meet anyone. Till that day, I met her. And I always have optimism, so this was both unexpected due to the rarity of the event, but also expected due to my optimism. And she was pretty standard. Attractive girl around my age, climbs. One thing I always look for is the shoes, because if they have rental shoes, then new, but she didn't. She had quite aggressive shoes, so I was like, oh, she must be a proficient climber. Which sometimes intimidates me when I see those shoes, because I have pretty soft shoes. So it's like, oh, wow, okay, they're probably climbing 8 9s. And then she was climbing 4 5, so it wasn't much. And I decided to make conversation with her. She was enthusiastic, she was fun. Typically, it doesn't last long. Conversations, they either die out fast, or even if they are enthusiastic, like the one person I talked to. And I'm also, yes, I'm mixing fiction in with reality here. Like the one person I talked to, she was nice and all, but she's just kind of left after our conversation. Wasn't much there. Unfortunate. But this person was different. Her name is Juliet. And we had a good conversation. We climbed with each other. She seemed to really like me. She wasn't just trying to be polite and then like doing her own thing. She actually followed me once, which is something new to me. I've never had someone follow me just because they want to be with me. That is a new thing. So that was a lovely time. I got her contact, asked when she would climb again, and she told me, oh, I'd come here, every so often, typically on weekends. So I met up with her later on. We talked a bit over text. Of course, I was trying to bring up my emotions and things, and because that's a focus. I don't want to just desperately say, hey, you matter a lot, please don't leave, I have no friends. But I wanted it to be known. So I share with her my poetry, and as is usually done, whether through Discord or through the two people I've sent it to from real life, till her. I'm basically stating real life events, but this is interesting. It's kind of like I've done before. I'm just basically stating facts, but also like what if. Anyways, so yes, she didn't necessarily read it very soon. Perhaps she was busy, as everyone seems to be. Except for me, because I do online school. And she didn't read it by the time we climbed next. Unfortunate, but that's alright. I was glad to be there, climbed with her, and I really just wanted her to read the poetry, because I didn't just want to come out and say my feelings. I have many writings, my background writing, my dreams writings, my everything about me writings, my thoughts writings a bit, my blatancy document. I have many writings which convey my feelings in many videos. So instead I share dog pictures because, that's how you start, I guess. And we climbed, we had fun. Not much happened really, but I was glad to have a friend. It meant a lot. So I did multiple writings. I had to adjust some things, because when all my documents talk about me being alone, someone being there is going to change a lot. And as expected, I wrote many, many writings and dreams because she was such an inspiration. I write from my heart, and whenever there's something that inspires me, I write. Not in the oh, I should write about that because that's cool sense, but rather in the giving me new emotions I've never felt sense. And she definitely did that. So I wrote a lot. I shared with her writings I wrote about her. And on a day when she was less busy and more bored, she decided to read them. I was in fact anxious to her reply, and I would really had rather her say it in person, but she said it over text, which is alright. She told me her thoughts on the writings. She enjoyed them. She didn't seem to mention much about the suffering sections or anything. I wasn't sure if it was because she didn't want to bring it up because it'd be weird or something, but, whatever. I was curious to see what she thought of it. I can't just blatantly ask, hey, what did you think of the writings about my pain? So I waited for her, in person. For the first time, not climbing, I offered to go to a coffee shop. She accepted, planned a day, we went out. I went to my normal spot, getting a drink, going out the back, sitting on the bench and watching the cars go by as we eat and drink, and it was lovely. I had an amazing time with her. I guess you could call it a date. I wouldn't call it a date in the romantic sense, rather in the sense of we chose a date to go out, and we went out. So we hadn't known each other for very long, but it was a very nice time. It's why she had so much trust in me. We weren't, particularly the oldest, so two of us of our age going out on our own is a little strange, but we live in a relatively good place. I'm not going to get robbed out of nowhere, I hope. And we discussed my writings there. She told me her thoughts. She did read the suffering ones, in fact. And she told me her thoughts on them, as I said. And I'm getting and of course, because then you feel it words. I'm coming up with a story on the spot. How do you just do that? I could give you details, but I'm tired for that. I'm just trying to give the general concept. Because I don't want to, do fiction, which is like lying. But anyways. She really liked them. There was a relatively tense moment where we looked at each other, and I, of course, had my typical feelings. Sinking gut, warm chest that's very tight, tense muscles, dilated pupils, intense focus, beating heart. Because that's what would happen. Side note. Even though I've made many side notes without declaring side note, I'm going to declare it this time because this is an intentional tangent that is going to take longer than a few seconds. In my recent fantasies, imagining what it would be like to, make friends and stuff like that. Again, I don't really know. I don't know what would happen, so this is just an estimation. But lately it's been more of the strong feelings. It's sort of been evolving. At first it was like a kiss would bring me much joy, then it was a hug would bring me much joy, and it keeps going back, and now it's just like being with someone who might care for me would bring me much joy, I think. It would do all those things I mentioned, sinking tight chest, beating heart, nervousness, focus, dilated pupils, all those things. For just a moment, it may recur multiple times, but it's just like having someone in front of you may care for you. It's just like so much. For me, of course, because it depends on what you have. If you already have friends, that means nothing to you. You just talk to someone. But for someone like me, it means a lot. Just having someone who may be a friend or even partner in the future. They could hug you, they could care for you. They are the first person like this in your entire life ever. They are the most significant person in your life. Potentially. And that's what's so insane. Of course, you can't say that to them right off the bat, which is unfortunate. Although I do have to blatantly talk if people, I offer and people want to know my true feelings, I can share that with them. And they'll know all these things I'm saying to you. But just being in front of someone and knowing that that's what they could be, and you genuinely think they care about you, it's like, I feel like I get that feeling. So, back to the story, on the bench, talking about my writings. There was a tense moment. I had all those symptoms, and I was quite expecting something. A hug, a kiss, or something. I don't know what I was expecting, but some sort of reaction from her. Instead, it was really just tense. I wasn't sure if it would be broken by awkwardness. I wasn't sure if it would be broken by humor, like, oh, that was so weird. But really, that moment lasted longer than expected. Because, there's a certain duration where, let's say, you're having a moment, look into their eyes, it goes silent. Then at that point, right there, you'd kind of like, go smile and go, wow, okay, yeah, and then change topics or something. Or you would go like, okay, sorry. But it lasted. It was very silent. And it really did, it was like the moment before you kissed, but it felt like there was no intention to do so. We were just sitting there, looking at each other. I'm not sure what thoughts were going through her mind, or if she was thinking about my thoughts. I was thinking about hers. I was admiring her beauty. And just the significance of her in my life. And I couldn't think about that. My thoughts were gone. That's all I could think about. About just, wow, you're here with me. I don't know what she was thinking. But after that, what felt like forever of a moment, when I did expect at least a hug, it was a weird fade back. I slowly turned my head to look at the road as if nothing had ever happened. And I couldn't feel the urge to say something about it. I felt like I wanted to say something, but I didn't. I just kind of pretended it didn't happen, and she did too in a way. It was strange. I don't know if she intended to pretend like it never happened because it was so awkward, or if that's just how it rolled out. But that's what happened. It was a lovely moment. I'm trying to think of where to take this story. Everything always happens in events, but trying to make cohesion here and come up with new things is difficult for me because I only go to certain places. So I have to stop making up places I've never been to. I don't know any other places because I don't go to places with people. I don't know what I would do with someone. I would rock climb with them and go to Noble, Maine and walk with them. I don't know where I would go. So yes, that moment was intense. We talked about it later. I got her Discord because that's my preferred method of talking. And we discussed the implications of the moment. We started discussing, though, interactions have been very brief and we hadn't known each other for very long, where our friendship could go into a relationship. Because we both considered it. I knew she was Christian. And I shared with her my ideals document about, what my ideal partner would be and what the requirements are and things. She seemed to fit them, which was quite surprising. So I was like, oh, well, first person I meet, first person to fix them. Okay, I'll stop yawning. It's almost 1 a.m. now. But yes, she fit them. She was essentially perfect for me. Very special, very special. Not just in the she fits my standards and she's the only one I have way, but rather in the, I'm sure even if you were in a pool of people I'd never known and I didn't know you, you'd stand out. Kind of way. So I loved her. I didn't know what to think of her, I didn't know what she would think of me, I didn't know where our relationship would go. But she did fit my standards and I fit hers, so that was one thing. We decided to discuss this over a walk. So we went down to a trail and walked. It was very peaceful. Walked out to a lake and sat and talked, and it was a lovely time. Got a picture and just enjoyed the water and how beautiful nature is, God-given. We hugged that day for the first time, despite her knowing previously how much I desired it. And as I've written about the first hug meaning something to me, because I haven't really had a good hug. So other people have a first kiss, I have that too, to be waiting for, but also a first hug. And she gave it to me, and I would have imagined a first hug would be anywhere and feel amazing, but at a location alone in the beautiful nature was something else. Felt like kissing her there, but, that was the first hug. Couldn't really go to a kiss right after that. Maybe in one of those hypersexualized and romanticized movies where like, oh, you're beautiful, we've known each other for 3 hours, I'm gonna kiss you, oh my god, you're beautiful, okay, and then they have sex and then all that stuff happens. But that's not my idea of fantasy. That is disgusting. As my previous video, discussing sexual morality talks about. So yes, I wouldn't do that. We just hugged. It was a... Oh yeah, let's stop yawning. I'm sorry for making you yawn. If you haven't yawned from that, I'm so surprised. It takes a lot of mental resilience to do that. Or mental numbness, I don't know. But yes, it was a awkward sort of walk back after having discussed all the topics of relationships and things, and because it was both sort of optimism, like, oh, this could happen on both of our parts, but also we kind of don't really know each other very much, so it was strange. And I was afraid of love evolving fast. As I've written about my ideals doc, I would hope to quickly catch love, intercept it while it's forming, because it happens very quickly. Next thing you know, you're dating a psychopath because you went too fast. So that was kind of happening just due to the awkwardness of how quickly we met, yet how much we loved each other. And I'm glad that slowed it down. I would not want to jump into it just because she fits my standards. That'd be a very bad thing to do. You should get to know someone first. So we did. And many times declined, we walked, we talked. I loved her. She was just amazing, really. I could describe her in detail, but she was beautiful. I loved her. She was amazing. She was special to me. She was Christian. She liked my music taste. She was just amazing. That's all there was to it, really. I would say awesome, but the interesting thing about awesome is that was actually used in the Bible. Awesome now is kind of interesting because it's used as sort of a casual word, but if you think about it, it's worthy of awe. A-W-E, awesome. And it says God is awesome, which sounds weird in the modern context of the word meaning, sort of a slang, childish word for something being cool. But it's interesting how it used to be a very serious word. But yeah, she was awesome in the serious tense. Or serious tone, I don't know. I'm tired. So I loved her, and what more do you need to a story? Why do I need to give you details? Why does that matter? That is the story. We met, I loved her, she was amazing. and through reasonable and cautious approach, we trusted each other, understood we were eternal soulmates, and loved each other forever. What more needs to happen? I don't know what would happen, and there's no need to specify the details. There is no ideal scenario. I meet someone, I could meet them at the gym, at church, at the coffee shop, anywhere in the random world. They could be anyone of the various types I would be interested in. It can evolve slowly or quickly. We can discuss things or not discuss things, and I don't know what would happen. All I desire is love, and there is no real one ideal woman or ideal scenario. But there is one thing I know for certain. And it is the last thing I'll say before I end the video, because as my writing Grandeur de la Fin says, the end carries impact. It is signifying this is the final thing I have to say. I'm aware I will no longer be able to speak to you, which means this has to be the most important thing I say before I sign off. And the most important thing I'm going to say, in relation to the story and all these things, and sorry the table is uneven, so you're wobbling around right now. But the last thing I have to say is simply that I would like a hug.